been told to love myself.
Hi everybody and welcome back. I'm now ready to sit down and talk to you about The Handmaid's Tale Season 2, Episode 13, The Word, which is the final episode for this year. I'm really sorry that it's finishing, but boy, what an ending we had last night, where we wanted so many changes and expected a faster pace. Others expected Serena to abandon her religious zealotry out of empathy for June's plight and then smuggle her into Canada. Some must have imagined June would have died in childbirth, I guess. Almost everyone ends this season exactly where they started. June is out of the Waterford household but unsure of where to go, and Emily is on a journey to the unknown. Nick, on the other hand, has helped the woman he loves to escape, and Fred and Serena are still trapped in a loveless, deranged marriage. Emotionally, they're all trying to walk through fire, but let's leave the end for the end. Eden, whose plotline always felt a little wedged in, has proven herself a valuable incentive for change in Gilead. Wrapped up in hand-sewn clothes and linens, June discovers a Bible covered in doodles, just like any high school girl's diary, except in this society, at a glance at the written word by a woman is a crime punishable by a chopped off finger. At 15, Eden was about 10 when America crumbled and Gilead formed. As a devout student of faith, it seems that Eden took the spirit of the law more seriously than the letter. June can't realistically plan her own escape. She can't even walk to the grocery store without an accompaniment. Every step she's taken towards freedom has met with an insurmountable barrier. She's bounced around New England like a yo-yo, and her psyche has rocked back and forth between a dark wall of depression and a resilient buoyancy. She has undergone very little substantial change. June started the season fighting for freedom and ends the season the same way. Like a Navy SEAL in training, the writers have kept her sinking to the bottom of the pool only to kick her way up to the top, where she draws in a fresh draft of air ad infinitum. At this juncture, The Handmaid's Tale doesn't know if it should become an escape narrative or to be more closely to Margaret Atwood's original novel, which, spoiler alert, leaves readers in suspense as to whether June escapes Gilead to end up in the clutches of the Guardian. Whilst the show has waffled on June, Serena has emerged as the most fascinating character to watch. Her desires for a child of her own, for control, for the theological tyranny, are in constant tension with the reality of life that she's created for herself. Serena, unlike June, has almost no one to blame for her current situation than herself. At times, she wallows in self-pity, lashes out with a venomous tongue, or stoically poses like a marble statue, depending on what scenario demands or her regret dredges up. Serena is real, a woman whose wants got away from her and took on an ugly life of their own. She also has some small amount of power, enough at least to ask for radical change. The matter of Serena rounding up all the other wives moves much faster than one would expect in a society which such a gendered power imbalance. But it makes perfect sense. The birth of a child engenders a re-evaluation of one's principles and circumstances, perhaps more than any other life change. We expect better for our children than we had for ourselves. Nonetheless, Serena's appearance before the council and the sudden arrival of dozens of the other wives for support is one of the most startling and important acts of revolution we've yet to see in Gilead, despite the fact that it utterly fails. Or maybe it's because it failed. Serena's request that the girls be taught to read the Bible could be the slippery slope that leads to more parity in general, whether she realizes it or not. A change that would undo Gilead's entire agenda. Fred at first dismisses it by saying, "Thank you, we will certainly discuss the matter seriously," means bug off in bureaucratic terms, and stares down his nose with terrifying glower. But when Serena opens Eden's Bible and begins to read from the Gospel of John, and she says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God," she is not only violating the law, but she's telling the most powerful word that they're all wrong. The latter is far more dangerous than the former. Serena assumes somewhat stupidly that Fred will take her side, will boost the support for her cause in the same way he once shouted outside a college hall that she deserved to be heard. But the primary goal of a man in power is to stay in power. This Fred is not the man that she married back then. Let's face it, if he's willing to let the guards haul his wife off and maim her, then what does that tell you about the current state of their relationship? And Serena isn't being punished for reading. Serena is being punished for reading in front of the council, for embarrassing her husband by leading the other women to rebellion, for daring to assume she could do such a thing. But in the end, while Serena has lost her pinky, she's gained an awakening. If her husband will order her own finger to be chopped off, what will he do to his daughter should she stray? Emily, too, has had enough of the status quo. She's facing her first ceremony with the enigmatic Commander Lawrence, whose house she shuffles about in like some sort of a ghost. Before kneeling down on the designated red pillow to accept his raping body into her own, she tucks a knife into the folds of her dress. Is it for the commander, we think, or is it for herself? We never find out because the commander is way too busy netching about how hard it is to find good help these days. And he says, "How am I supposed to motivate employees if I can't leverage salaries to even remember that the ceremony was meant to take place?" Emily's reminder that they are meant to fulfill their godly duties that evening is only met with a curt, "I'm not going to do that with you," and demand that she go to her room. The next morning, all of our dreams come true, and this is where it got really exciting. Aunt Lydia had oddly softened in recent months. As we know, she promised to look after June's baby for her and encouraged the Waterfords to take June back into the household. She was still a devilish bitch, don't get me wrong, with ice in her veins and fire in her soul. However, she revealed a few weaknesses. Emily has always prickled her more than any of the other housemaids. Aunt Lydia got most of her pleasure from subduing the wily ones. After Aunt Lydia explains that the commander, who must have lied, said that the ceremony went well, and Emily in turn remains silent. It isn't shocking that Aunt Lydia reaches for the most cruelest remark that she can muster, referring to the surgery to remove Emily's clitoris, which she ordered, snaps, "It's like I cut out your tongue." The slash of the knife through her back and the crack of her body hitting the steps is the most pleasurable after all the hell that she's rained down upon the handmaids. Emily called back to the blows she delivered to her dead commander's balls a few episodes ago at just a bonus. Aunt Lydia doesn't speak, but she looks absolutely terrified, which is what she deserves. There is none of the peace of a woman who has lived a God-fearing life and is on her way to meet her maker. Alexis Bledel proves just how much you can do with no lines in her manic, hair-tearing pacing and breakdown in her bedroom after the two women are found at the bottom of the steps, and Cora sends her to her room. Her rolling, wide-opened eyes are at first giddy and then suddenly are alert to her new reality. Her hands clutch at anything around her that might offer stability. I couldn't help but imagine that this is exactly how I would respond in the same situation. By the way, he drags her down the steps and into the car. It seems like Commander Lawrence is prepared to drive Emily out to the middle of nowhere and leave her for dead. Although I had to laugh at Emily's good manners as she called back to Mrs. Lawrence that it was good meeting you. And then it seemed that he must be torturing her. What other cruel reason could you imagine for forcing someone to listen to Annie Lennox's Walking on Broken Glass that loudly? It isn't until he pulls up under the overpass where June waits that we know that he's doing penance for his sins, establishing the colonies, building Gilead's economic architecture, and so therefore by freeing Emily from a death sentence. He also has some excellent life advice, including don't do drugs. I mean, what the hell was that all about? Finally, back at the Waterford manse comes the moment June and all of us have been waiting for. The Marthas, whom we vastly underestimated, have set up an escape route that functions the way the Underground Railway did in many places along the eastern seaboard, with each Martha hurrying you along to the next stop. The fire down the street is merely a distraction. One glance lets us know that Nick is on it, arranging his love and his child's escape into a future where he most likely won't join them. But alas, June almost makes it to the corner of the yard when the first Martha will meet her when Serena appears like a bedraggled ghost. I'm not sure who the scene is more wrenching for. June, who might be sent back to the Waterford estate yet again, or Serena, who has committed war crimes to have a child and is now about to lose her. But Ivan Strahovski plays it quietly, beautifully, meekly. Serena already knows she will have to let the baby go. Her own missing finger is proof of that, as June reminds her that the child cannot grow up in this place. And I know that this will be an unpopular opinion, but my heart somehow broke for Serena when she slipped the baby back into June's hands and watched them flee. If we can't feel for Serena, then she's a useless villain, a cardboard cutout of a villain. Yes, it's disappointing that June chose to stay in Gilead. I yelled out loud at my screen, "What the hell is wrong with you? Why don't you get out?" when she handed the baby, now to be called Nicole, to Emily and slammed the door on her own escape. I suspect that the move will lose Handmaid's Tale some viewers, people who see escape as June's goal, but that misunderstands who she is. June is a rescuer. She is a woman who holds the hand of her oppressors to console her, who would sacrifice her life for the potential chance to save her child from suffering. The wives of Gilead stood up and fought in this episode in the best way they knew how. For their daughters. So if June had hopped on the back of that truck and left Hannah in Gilead, what would we have said of her? What would we have made of her as a mother? And there is no certainty that she'll head back to the Waterfords. In our last glimpse of June, she pulls up her hood and rises like a Sith Lord. It would have meant more if June hadn't glowered determinedly into the camera a half a dozen times already this season, but still it's promising. So that's how the episode finale ended in season 2. I'm looking forward to season 3, which obviously will not be until around April of 2019. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up and hit that notification bell for all upcoming alerts to my channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you shortly. Bye for now.